Nadine, good afternoon.
Matthew, my friend, good afternoon. How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you today?
I'm great. So good to
Good.
see you.
Good to see you as well. Looks like we got audio loud and clear, and we're
We're
ready to
rocking and
rock.
rolling.
And we're a minute early at that. I see one guest has joined us, and we'll give everyone a moment to populate the meeting. And I'm excited for another conversation.
As am I.
All right. I'll go off mic for a moment while the room fills. But before I do that, for anyone that's in the meeting, TJ, great to see you. I will do this. I have a question for the audience, somewhat of a poll before we get going. And I'll give you that question verbally, but I'll also will put it in the chat. But if you think about the topic, so commercial real estate and AI and commercial real estate, I'm just curious, how many AI tools can you name and actually like list? So before we get going, as the room populates, just in the chat, answer that question. How many AI tools can you personally name? And if you're using any, go ahead and drop those tools in the chat. And as the room populates, we'll be back here to launch us off.
Who knows? Folks might educate us on something. You never know.
All right, so I dropped that into the chat. Again, the question, if you're just joining, first off, welcome. Thank you for taking time. Before we get started today, I raised this question, which is how many AI tools are you currently using and how many can you name? So drop the comments in the chat and we'll kick us off officially here in about 60 seconds. All right, one answer so far. Sean, great to see you. Thanks for joining and thanks for the answer.
Thanks for the opportunity, man.
Absolutely. Well, Nadine, I have 102 on my clock. What do you say? Should we kick this thing off?
Let's kick it off, Brian.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining. And my name is Matthew E. Drain. I'm founder and CEO of Revolt CRE. I'll give a quick background on myself as well as introduce my co-host, Nadine Ezzi. I'd like to just say this topic is so exciting. This is our second installment. If you were here for the first one, thanks for coming back. But for context, AI in commercial real estate, AI at a high level is growing immensely in terms of popularity and utility, but particularly in commercial real estate, we noticed that our industry is starting to pick up on that trend. So Nadine and I thought it would be a great opportunity to gather and share our own usage as well as expertise on the topic. By way of introduction, again, my name is Matthew E. Drain, founder and CEO of Revolt CRE. Revolt CRE is not a brokerage firm. It's a online community. It's a platform that I established about a year ago. And honestly, I established this community out of my own need. When I started in the business 13 years ago, I was seeking something like this for myself, a place where I could learn useful tips, techniques, strategies to grow my brokerage business. And that's my background. For the past 13 years, I've partnered closely with 700 investment sales advisors, from hiring them, training them, being business partners as a market leader, doing billions of transactions in sales. But I've learned a lot along the way about just about every facet of the industry. So Revolt CRE is the community where we share those best practices and we gather on a weekly and monthly basis just to really just share knowledge. I see some of our community members here in the audience, so thanks for attending. And I'm honored today to introduce my co-host, Nadine Ezzi, who is founder and CEO of Ezzi & Co. And Nadine, you can tell your story better than I can, but can you just give the audience a bit of who you are and what you're working on these days?
I'm happy to. And thanks so much again, Matt, for inviting me back to this. It's great to collaborate with you on, as you said, this very timely topic. So, thank you. My name is Nadine Ezzi. I am the founder and managing principal of Ezzi and Co. I have been in the industry for almost 20 years, and I've worn a lot of different hats. So, I'll start with hat number one. I am a lawyer. I do all commercial real estate transaction work. I work with people in all stages of commercial real estate, whether you're an emerging developer starting out, whether you're an established company that's been around for 50 years, people on the tenant side, landlord side, whatever it is. I absolutely love providing the highest quality of legal services to folks in the industry, but also making them accessible and democratizing it. A little bit of my own personal background. I am first generation Lebanese. My parents were immigrants from Lebanon. And so I was the first one in my family to kind of take on the commercial real estate industry. And as I think a lot of us might know during our own journeys, there are certain doors you need to knock on, and we don't always know where those doors are. And so I had to kind of navigate that journey on my own and recognize that there were a lot of tall walls built against certain people to try to get in. And so I've always made it my mission to kind of give back to the people trying to come into the industry as well, very similar to Matt, in terms of structuring my real estate services in a way that are affordable to people that are trying to, start their own retail business or start their own developer business. So, and where AI comes into that is that I use a lot of technology and a lot of AI services to be able to automate as much as I can of my own time so that I can then focus on the relationship building with my clients, right? So that allows me to still stay competitive in my pricing, but to bring it down, make it accessible for people, and to give them just as great a service as if they were a high-paying client that's been around for 20 plus years. So that's one part of my business. Ezico is one part law firm. I also took a break from practicing law for a little bit and joined a tech startup company in a business role, not in a lawyer role. So I spent 4 years working in a very early stage commercial real estate tech startup company. And I learned everything there was to learn about building a product, getting people to use the product, getting people to change their ways that they've been used to doing something to do something different. And that really opened my eyes a lot as well to the possibilities of when you have the right technology and people use it in a certain way, just the doors and the possibility that can open to just increasing people's bandwidth and capacity to be able to focus on more things. And so that really is what Ezzy and Co. was born out of, was this desire to kind of break down the walls and the traditional silos of how commercial real estate services are offered and rewrite the playbook, so to speak. So I'm out here just kind of doing it in a way that not only makes high quality legal services more accessible to more people, but also doing it in a way that still gives that kind of that white glove customer experience, because I do automate so much of it and I can free myself up. So I love talking about artificial intelligence. I speak on a lot of panels, keynote speeches and whatnot. And so, we are truly living during our modern day industrial revolution, and the pace and rate at which it is progressing is unlike anybody has seen, and it can be overwhelming. I still get overwhelmed sometimes where I'm like, I cannot keep up. But that's why I'm so happy to do sessions like this with folks like Matt, where we can just all kind of take bites out of the apple and continue to educate ourselves and, get part of the game for ourselves. So I'm a bit of a digital nomad. I have a physical presence in Boston. I have a physical presence in Ohio, where I'm originally from, and travel as need be. So again, I'm gonna stop talking because I can talk about AI a lot, and that's what we're here to do. So yeah.
No, we're so excited and honored to have you, Nadine. If you were there for part one, you know firsthand just her expertise and the vast amount of knowledge that she shared. And that's our intent today, is to share, but also to get into some of the practical use of AI. So a quick recap. So in the first session, we went over 3 myths and a truth as it relates to commercial real estate. We won't rehash the entire session, but we found that it was a helpful starting place for many of us. So let's jump right in. So we have 3 myths. Myth number 1, AI is only ChatGPT. And I have to raise my hand in somewhat embarrassment. Um, that was about the extent of my use of AI for quite a while. Nadine, would you mind just giving us a brief overview of what AI is and what it's not? And we'll
I'm
go from there.
happy to. I'm happy to. And no embarrassment, okay? We're all here to learn. So no embarrassment, no shame, Matt. So listen, for the longest time, I made the same mistake. The world was turned on its head in November of 2022 when the company OpenAI released to the general public ChatGPT, which was its natural language AI chat tool. And the world was never the same. So ChatGPT is a tool. That tool is offered by the company called OpenAI. There are many, many AI-powered tools out there that do similar things to ChatGPT. But the reason that ChatGPT is the most famous of them all is that it was the first one to be offered to the general public. It's the first one that we all logged into and used for the very first time. So ChatGPT is an AI-powered tool. It is not the same as artificial intelligence. What artificial intelligence is pretty much in the name, artificial intelligence, meaning intelligence that is not generated by the human mind, but intelligence that is generated outside of the human mind. And there's a couple of different ways that that can happen. Number one, these tools are trained on massive, massive amounts of human generated data that we have compiled as a society for hundreds of years, right? And these are large models, these are large systems, these are large computers that are trained and programmed on massive amounts of data to be able to do a couple of different things. One of them is to generate new information, right? Generative AI. I think maybe a lot of you have heard of the term generative AI. That is artificial intelligence that generates new information by drawing upon all of that massive data that it's trained on. So let's just use ChatGPT as an example, right? You go in and you type in a query or a prompt or command or whatever it is that you like to call it and say, create this offering memorandum for this property or whatever, is going to create a new piece of information for you based on that. Large language models are another form of artificial intelligence. And again, it's kind of in the name, right? These are large data models that are really well designed for a number of different things. One of them being predictive analytics. So these types of models are trained on so much information that just as a human analyst would perhaps review a bunch of information and try to make a prediction as to perhaps where an investment should be made or how a particular financial outcome might be, these are models that are going to mimic that same behavior. They're going to predict based on all of the information they've been trained on what they think a particular outcome is going to be. So large language models and generative AI are the two main categories we've been hearing about to date. There's a third one that you guys may have been hearing about, and that's agentic AI, AGENTIC, agentic. Within that, again, the answer is right in it, agent, right? This is what we're talking about, actual AI agents. Not to be confused with bots or custom GPTs. If anybody on this call is getting a little good at creating custom GPTs, agents are just that. So think about when you call customer helpline and an actual human agent answers that line and you're actually speaking to a human agent. Agentic AI are going to be bots that are designed to mimic an actual human being in a certain role and are able to take action on their own based on how they have been trained in the interaction that they have with a human. And so that's, I go to a lot of conferences, and right now that's the big one. You ask anybody and they're like, what's the future of AI? And everybody's saying agentic AI. So much so that you even have heads of human resources for big organizations that are already starting to look at their organizational charts and predict which roles in an org chart will be replaced with actual agents, where you're going to have humans working side by side with agents. So I know that can sound really scary.
That is scary. Also, a pretty good segue into our second myth, honestly.
Actually, it is. Thank you for it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So and Matt's got to keep me on because guys, I'll talk about this a lot. But agentic AI generative AI, and large language models. Those are your three main categories.
Awesome. Thank you. And, we didn't practice this, but myth number two, Nadine, what is myth number two? And what are we hearing out here
Yeah.
in real estate streets?
Yeah. So myth number two, and ChatGPT or AI, you can fill it in the blank, can replace brokers or can replace any job, really. Myth number two, right? So, Matt, you want to start
Sure.
off with that one?
Yeah, I'll take it from a broker's lens
Please
and
do.
angle. This one is a reoccurring position, a reoccurring theme that many brokers believe at some point will be replaced. And at first, I thought this was a complete, flat out myth. No way. But the more I think about it, like most answers, it depends, right? So, not all brokers are created equally, and someone that's done this business for 13 years and trained 700 other people to do it, I'll say that there are some brokers that AI will absolutely replace. If you are an order taker broker, if you're someone that does not create value for either party in a transaction and you're simply a provider of information and you regurgitate the information and the data that's in a offer memorandum, I hate to cut it to you, but yeah, you probably can and will be replaced very soon. When I think about the brokers or the agents that cannot be replaced by AI, those are the advisors that truly are fiduciaries to their clients. They're the ones that are actually influencing, driving, the conductor, if you will, of a transaction. More than just providing information, they are a buffer for negotiation. They are someone that is solving problems in real time as they come up throughout a transaction. Most owners of real estate hire an advisor or a broker to represent them in their best interest. They're hiring them because they know that that advisor can do something that they can't do on their own. So my position on busting this myth is that if you are a value add advisor, someone that's truly driving and impacting a transaction, you will unlikely be replaced by AI because there is value that you are generating and creating in those conversations and exchanges. Someone who is creating a competitive bid process, someone who is skilled in negotiation, overcoming objections, someone who is getting ahead of what the challenges that might blow a deal up before it occurs, and already solving for and working through those scenarios. That's where we earn our money, quite frankly, as an advisor. If it's simply putting a property online and presenting offers, there's not much value there. So I do believe that we're a ways away from the transaction and the effort and the energy that goes into quarterbacking a transaction from start to close. That AI, while it is supportive of that process, I leverage AI in my business. I don't believe that right now there is a full service solution to replace me as an advisor. And I'm happy about that because I like what I do and I want to continue to get paid to serve clients and do what I do. So that's my response to that myth. Nadine, if you'd like to add anything to it, please do.
Yeah, and I'll be very quick. It's very much the same in what I'm seeing, right? So I'll just use lawyer as an example because I'm a lawyer. If your job, right, is doing all of those just kind of task-based things, right? Like just drafting certain documents, very simple documents that can be addressed by artificial intelligence or whatnot. Yeah, we're gonna see these roles go away. But as a lawyer, or for any other role, really, it's a bit more nuanced. You might see part of the job be automated, right? But there's going to be another part of the job. So Matt talked about like his fiduciary responsibility to his clients. I have the same thing. My legal clients. There's going to be part of a job that only a human can do. There's going to be part of the job that only strategic thinking or critical thinking can happen. There's part of the job that only relationship building, where relationship building matters a lot, right? Or creativity or all of that. And so I'm really excited about this because number one, yeah, we are going to see certain roles or tasks better suited for artificial intelligence, which frankly are not better suited for human beings to do. And it'll free us up from being so bogged down with all these different things that we're all trying to juggle to think more creatively, to think more strategically about how can I do my job better? How can I provide better service to whoever my client or my customer is? How can I think more creatively? How can I make their experience in the entire process better? How can I do this faster and therefore pass along cost savings? Whatever it is. And so I think that's a risk whenever something new and flashy comes along, that the narrative tends to become pretty black and white, and that nuance is lost. So yeah, certain things are going to be automated, but it's also going to make space for more. And what's really exciting is that we get to be part of writing the story of what that more is going to be.
No, well said. And to round out our myths and a lie, or sorry, our three myths and a truth, the third myth is that tech slash AI, artificial intelligence, is a young person's game. And I used to be young. I can no longer say I'm still a young professional. I think I'm a professional at this point. But I look at it from my lens. I'm 42 years old. I'm not the newest person in the business. I'm not that college graduate entering in and starting to launch their career. I'm very much established in my career. And I will say that it's a myth because, like any profession, if you're not constantly keeping up with current trends, new tools, new training, new opportunities to really just enhance your skill set, you're doing yourself a professional disservice. So it's a myth that this is only for young people. I know that while it might take me a few more reps to get comfortable with some of these tools that we'll discuss later today, it certainly is not excluded only for those who are in their 20s or starting out. So I bust that myth, even though I don't do it with ease. I definitely have embraced that technology is ever changing and evolving, and that those brokers who do not start to invest time and energy on learning how to utilize some of these tools, they will likely get left behind. And that has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the willingness to embrace the technology and stay competitive.
Yeah, I'm gonna plus one that and be real quick, and I'm actually gonna use that to dovetail into our final truth, which is that the power of AI lies in the people that use it and not the tech itself. First off, you are old, yeah, you are younger than me, so I don't like you saying that you're not a young person, because I know
Hey,
what that makes me, okay?
hey, no offense intended.
Okay, Matt. Speak for yourself. Anyway, no, listen. Matt's absolutely right. This is impacting everybody right now. This isn't just a technology that's impacting this segment. This is impacting all of humanity, right? Every single job. And we're talking outside of commercial real estate, finance, healthcare, education. Everything is going to be impacted by this, regardless of your age. All it's going to take to stay up to date and with it is an open mind and a willingness to recognize that we as a collective are all going to need to be re-educated right now, right? So time to put the egos aside, time to put everything aside. We're like, I've made it. It's going to take an open mind and an understanding that we all need to re-educate ourselves on a certain level. So this is not a young person's game. This is everybody game. And the power of it, right? The power of it isn't the tool itself. It's in how we use it. And that's the really cool part as well. We each have a unique point of view. I think as Matt has talked a lot as well about a broker. And so it's that unique perspective and point of view that we bring to how we use it that it's going to continue to differentiate us. So I think that's what's pretty exciting as well.
Absolutely. And therein lies the truth, right? The truth is that the power of AI, it lies with
Mm-hmm.
the user and with the people who are using it. So not the tech itself. If you've used ChatGPT, you'll quickly learn that the more you use it, the more it learns, understands, and anticipates your thought process, your job function, and it becomes better with time because it's learning how you are using the technology and therefore it responds to it. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the truth in these three myths. And we're going to transition the conversation into what we're hearing, what we're seeing, and what we're excited about. But
Yeah.
before we do so, I want to open it up to the audience, either in the chat, type a question, or simply come off of mute. But is there anything today that you came to this meeting looking to learn, or is there any topic that is of interest or anything that we discussed so far that you would like us to go into more detail on before we transition to the next part of our agenda? And I'll pause for a moment. I see one or two questions in the chat, so I'll get that opened up. Let's see. All right, so TJ, let's see. How has AI helped you guys out in real estate? All right, perfect. I would love to get into what task has it solved. Perfect. I'll definitely get into what use cases I'm using and I'm seeing in my business from a I'll give you two answers, TJ. One from a commercial real estate brokerage standpoint, and TJ and I, we do some work together in terms of land investment and flipping. And I'll also give you a few examples of how I'm using AI in that niche as well. Great question. Anyone else before we move on to part two? If you think of it while we're going, just put it in the chat and we'd be happy to come back and respond. So TJ, I'm going to hold that question until we get into some of these next bullet points. But yes, we'll certainly get into that today. All right. So Nadine, we have three parts here to this next section of our agenda. And really, this gets into the how are we using AI? And
Yep. Yeah.
Phase one, what questions are people asking you about AI? Or said differently, what are some of the problems that people are looking to solve when they come to Ezzy and Co. And they approach you and ask for your expertise?
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of lump in what questions I'm being asked and what use cases I'm seeing kind of in one answer because they go hand in hand. So I have people come to me in two different capacities. Either they are my legal clients that are needing me to represent them doing traditional commercial real estate work, or I do AI consulting as well. So I have companies and I have organizations in commercial real estate that come to me and they say, hey, how we hear about this AI, we know we got to be using it so we don't fall behind, but we don't know where to begin. How can you help us? And so I'll start with my legal clients. So I use AI in my business. The biggest use case I have is document review and helping me draft clauses. So I'll just use commercial lease agreements as an example of one document where it has helped me tremendously. I've been practicing law for almost 20 years. I'm very comfortable around a commercial lease agreement. I know whether I'm repping a landlord or a tenant, what's a position that should be taken, how far you can push, et cetera. But nothing changes the fact that when I get that first 75 to 80 page lease agreement to review, if I want to do it right, I'm reading every line, I'm reading every page, and I'm marking it up. And that's about an 8-hour chunk of time right there to do it right.
Yeah.
And that can be expensive, right? And then I can have clients that say, well, I need a lawyer, but paying your hourly rate is too expensive, right? Well, I also need to protect myself. So I'll use it to do that first review of a lease. So I will upload that lease into ChatGPT. And I've been using it for years. So like Matt said, it's trained on me. It knows me. I've been giving it my feedback forever. And it'll do that first review for me, line by line, page by page. It'll tell me, here's section 2.7, beware of this, et cetera, et cetera. It's not going to be perfect. It's never perfect. It maybe gets me 70% of the way there. So then but that's in a matter of seconds, right? 70% of that job is done within seconds. So then what I will do is I will go in and spend at least 2 hours reviewing what ChatGPT gave me, comparing it to the document, seeing what's correct, what's not. Okay, ChatGPT, I agree with you here. I'm going to make this red line. Oh, you missed this, and I'll do that. And what was an 8-hour initial review before has now become a 2 to 3 hour review. That helps me. And then I'm able to provide more flat rate billing to my clients because it's just so much more predictable now. So I'm able to say, hey, lease review, this is my flat rate. And, that gives me predictability about my revenue. That gives predictability to my clients that, hey, they're not going to be on some type of hourly clock. So that's one example. I'll also use it to just draft clauses in agreements. I need to write a first offer. I need this or that, just helping me go from 0 to 1. And then I can kind of revise it as well and go from there. The time savings have been extraordinary in that instance as well. And then my last example, and then I'll kick it to Max. I know he's got some great use cases as well as a broker, is that so when my consulting clients come to me, more often than not, I'll go into the organization and I'll just kind of do an audit. Like, everybody tell me how you guys are doing everything today and what, where are your documents stored and what software are you using? And I'm able to identify, what, you've got somebody spending this many hours a week doing this right here. We can use AI over here and we can free this person up so that they can then start doing more of this. So it's a kind of very similar. I just kind of go in and I'm almost an architect in a sense with organizations. A lot of times their people won't even know how to use ChatGPT or artificial intelligence. And so we'll just start out with training sessions. So I'll just do custom design educational curriculums as well. Going back to that point I made, in that we need to engage in a massive re-education of everybody as well. And so I think people are very excited to go to using it right away, and they skip over this really important phase of like, we need to educate ourselves as well. And I think the people that are intentional about it, that slow down a little bit and do it right, are they going to be the ones that come ahead, and not those that are trying to kind of drink out of a fire hose and beat everybody else. So that's what I'm seeing. Matt, I know you got some really interesting use cases as well.
Yeah, and I'm still, I'd say, 2 years or so into my journey of learning, AI, learning how to use these tools. But when I think about how I use it as a broker, I break it down by job function. So a big part of how a broker spends their time, prospecting, of course, is a key task that you just have to do in terms of creating momentum in your business. But with prospecting, you often have to do quite a bit of research. So the research tasks are where I lean into leaning on ChatGPT. For example, if I am preparing an analysis for a property and I want to better understand why someone would be interested in acquiring a certain property. Open source information is great because I can drop in an address and a prompt such as uh, based on the factors that drive investment activity in Columbus, Ohio, why would someone be interested in purchasing this 20-unit building located at 123 Main Street, insert zip code? And what I've now learned and over time, what ChatGPT has learned about me is I really care about those drivers that, from an investment standpoint, are important for investors. So it will give me a response and draft an investment highlights and an investment summary or overview that goes into the demographics, the population growth, the employment drivers, the trend, if you will. So those are ways that I'm using it in my business to cut out some of the research, but also to have a phase one or a V1 of an investment overview that I might use to either articulate that to the owner in a meeting in person, or as a V1 for a marketing piece or collateral that I'm using to then sell that property to the open market. That's one way that I'm using ChatGPT and some of these other resources. Another thing that I learned today is Perplexity. Research is a little bit deeper with that tool. And let's just say I'm looking to identify areas. And TJ, this goes to answering your question. If I'm a land investor and I want to go find some markets across the Midwest that over time should be very active in terms of high demand for land acquisition activity, I might create a prompt that is loosely structured around what are those markets where the median home value and price is rising, where the number of new construction starts from national home builders is trending in the up direction, on where there's still an affordability component that allows and that creates demand for single family housing because it's still attracting population migration. Those are some things that I might just prompt, and then instead of me searching and trying to filter down from 50 prospective markets where I want to put marketing dollars and effort and try to prospect and source opportunities, it might narrow that down to the top 5 that check all of these boxes that historically are great indicators of where people might be interested in investing their capital. So that's another way that I'm using it from a research angle to narrow the field, if you will, and help identify and target my efforts by just using data and using the right prompts.
Matt, thank you for reminding me about Perplexity. You and I were just going over it. So there are so many tools out there right now. I mean, new tools are being dropped all the time, and it can be very overwhelming. And I think some of us that are using AI every day, the best practice that we abide by is just like dealing with the main trifecta of tools. So we all know ChatGPT, right? Certain tools are better for certain things. So I have found, and a lot of folks have found, that ChatGPT is really good at idea generation, right? Like strategizing, brainstorming, doing research and things like that. And then Perplexity, as Matt just said, a lot of folks are replacing Google as a search engine and using Perplexity. And that's essentially what Perplexity is. It's an AI powered search engine. And instead of like with Google, you kind of look for something and it brings these individual websites back that you yourself have to go into and read and kind of pull out the information that's relevant for you and then create some type of summary. Perplexity does that for you. So it's real time, it scours the web, and then it'll return kind of a summarized answer for you, but it'll also show you all the websites that it used to extract that information. And so I'm using ChatGPT for brainstorming, ideas and research. I'm using Perplexity for real-time web search. And then I don't know if folks on here have heard of Claude, right? Or Claude AI. Claude is another tool by a company by the name of Anthropic. So Anthropic, you'll probably hear Anthropic and OpenAI utilized interchangeably. These are two different companies. Claude, again, same interface where you type in a prompt and it generates information for you. But I have found, and a lot of folks have found, that Claude is really good for writing. I find its writing style is a lot more human, a lot more elegant. If anybody on here has used ChatGPT to maybe help write an email or something, the tone of ChatGPT can be a little, choppy sometimes, right? It just doesn't sound very natural. And I have found that Claude is a much better tool for writing. So what a lot of folks will do is, maybe they'll use ChatGPT for some brainstorming, right? Copy and paste from ChatGPT what it did for you, paste it into Claude and say, hey, based on this information, I need you to now please draft whatever it is you need. And that output of the writing is just going to be better, but you're leveraging the, what ChatGPT is better known for, or Perplexity in that instance. So don't feel the need to kind of get stuck in one. You can copy and paste. You can take from one and put it into another. A lot of folks that they're doing are also pretty adept at this, is creating their own personal integrations. And we're getting a little technical right now. We can talk about that on a future session. There's tools like Zapier and others, and they basically create a bridge between your two platforms. Any platforms, doesn't have to be AI. They connect them for you. And then they can kind of start talking to each other as well. ChatGPT has a function as well, and I believe Claude does and others, where they'll connect to your Google Drive. So if you're storing your information in Google Drive, you can do a prompt in ChatGPT, and it'll go search everything on your drive and then give you an answer back based on that. So the possibilities are endless.
That's great. Two things that I wanted to note before I forget. One, you're right in terms of the voice of ChatGPT. For many people who are using ChatGPT for drafting your LinkedIn posts, which is, again, that's another use. There's some telltale signs when you are copying and pasting from ChatGPT's response into, whatever writing format or platform you're utilizing, such as the M dash, right? That long dash. ChatGPT loves that M dash, and if you take some time, just look through your favorite influencers' post on LinkedIn. If you notice a fair amount of emojis and M dashes, chances are they are using it without modification. Which, hey, nothing wrong with that. It's just goes back to tone and utility. There's probably a better way to make that more of your native voice, your natural tone. And I think that tip that Nadine just gave about taking that output, putting it into another tool such as Claude, and refining that deliverable is a great way of stacking the tools. One thing that I'm working on right now, and a few of my other friends is let's just say I get a set of financials from an owner. I get a rent roll, it's 20 units. I get a P&L from an owner, profit and loss. I have the financials that I need to begin to underwrite. Traditionally, I would take that and I would either go into an Excel-based model, and I would start to plug away. Over time, you start to build the same assumptions, right? So on a rent growth assumption standpoint, let's just say I believe that in this particular zip code, rents have softened and they're either going to grow at a rate of 50 basis points year over year, or they'll be flat. So my rent growth assumption might be 50 basis points year over year. Operating expenses, they've kind of increased. So maybe I'm running that year over year growth at 2.5%. For repair and maintenance, for a 1970s vintage product, maybe I'm somewhere around a rough ballpark of $750 or $900 per unit per year in repair and maintenance expense. Contract services, I might earmark at somewhere around $400 per unit per year. That's pest control, landscaping, things like that. Once I kind of build my assumptions, it's not that difficult to input and upload a rent roll, solve for the average effective rents, right, for that rent roll, um, predict some type of a forward assumption on occupancy, on collections, all my forward assumptions on how I want to type underwrite that asset with those basic assumptions. That's the next level that I'm working on now is how can I, instead of spending 45 minutes or an hour underwriting that asset, how can I get a V1 or a quick pass based on those assumptions that I can simply upload into some type of a tool. And Red IQ, of course, is a underwriting software that's been around for quite some time. It's powered by technology. There's some third-party options, but what I like to get to on this series, and I think Nadine has the same vision, is on the next installment, let's start to actually build tools that are going to help reduce some of the time that it takes for us to complete some of these tasks. And Nadine, you had mentioned a board of directors and how you've built your own custom board of directors in which you can run scenarios, questions, opportunities by your board. I think that would be a really cool exercise if maybe the next time we gather, we actually start to build out some of these custom prompts and/or
Yes.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. Next time, let's start showing these tools. Let's start showing people what's possible. And then you'll just start you guys will start thinking of use cases yourself, and the possibilities are endless. And, and I'm still inspired by so many other people. Well, they'll tell me how they're using, let's just say ChatGPT as an example. I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. I didn't think of that. So not only like sharing our ideas as well, is where the power lies. And I would love that on our next session to actually start sharing with folks, the ways that they can do this as well. So absolutely.
Well, awesome. Well, listen, we're 40 minutes in. What I like to do is the chat is still open. So if you have questions, put questions in the chat or come off of mute. But while we do that, closing out this segment of the agenda, Nadine, what's exciting you right now and what's coming next? And that's the last question. But I see Tommy, thanks for chiming in. Perplexity can be used to dissect a combination of reports, 10 PDFs on the free version, and ask for similarities or summaries. It sounds like you might be able to achieve that goal with Perplexity alone. Possibly. I haven't gotten that far. So maybe that's my homework, is to see exactly how I can use Perplexity, which I learned about today, thanks to Nadine, on building some of that custom tasks and some of that custom work. Thank you, Tommy. So Nadine, I'll kick it to you for what's exciting you right now and what's next.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
anyone else that has a question, feel free. Come off mute and just chime in.
I'm going to be real quick because I'd like to hear what folks are doing. What's exciting me right now is, so I am a solopreneur, and what's exciting me is thinking about how much, number one, I'm designing the vision of everything that I want. What's everything that I want to achieve? And then I'm asking myself, how much of this can I leverage artificial intelligence to do for me? Right. And then, essentially, how do I 10x myself? How do I 100x myself by utilizing artificial intelligence? How do I create the largest profit margin that I can for myself by automating as much as possible? And once you start asking yourself those questions, you just can't stop. And so right now I'm looking out there like, what are the tools available to me? And design and recognizing that there's nothing holding me back. There's nothing holding any of us back, right? It's all of ours for the taking right now. And I think that's what excites me the most, is that never in the course of history have so many people had access to so much information, ever. And it's just up to us to what we want to do with it and what we want to do with our lives with like this, I don't say free time, right? But kind of, I'm running a business now from using a laptop and a phone from anywhere. And I've got work that historically would have taken 10 to 15 people to do that I'm doing as a team of one. That's what excites me. That's really what excites me. And we hear a lot out there right now and I'll leave this for all of you to think about. There will be the billion-dollar unicorn company that is ran by one person who is leveraging artificial intelligence. Like everybody agrees on that. And I always ask myself, why can't that be me? Why can't that be you? So that's what excites me right now.
Wow. Talk about expanding the vision, because I know many of us, we think about our business right now and, hey, how do we build $1 million revenue business with ChatGPT
Right?
or with these tools?
Yeah.
That's a starting point. Maybe that's the project that we all take on the next time we gather is how can we use some of these tools to build, real revenue generating businesses, or at least create tools that will help us in our current 6, 7 figure revenue generating business that we're running right now. Um, that's something I'm going to think about a lot over the weekend, Nadine, is how to create $1 billion enterprise as a one man band.
Exactly. Exactly. This will be my last comment. I went to a conference on AI last month, and you had all these top chief information officers or whatever, right? And before, the question we always asked ourselves when like a new software would come out would be like, how do we get from A to B to C to D faster? Now the question is, how do you go from A to D, right? Like completely eliminating steps and just like going from A to D or A to F, right? It's no longer like, how do I do this faster? It's how do I do it differently and better?
That's awesome. Well, Nadine, this was great. And the audience, I think also, I saw TJ taking quite a bit of notes. This replay will be available, and the summary will be available as well. Any closing questions before we end this segment and go back to our workday?
Matthew, I want to thank you for inviting me back and doing this platform with you. It's so great to talk to the folks that join us, and I'm really excited for our next session where we're gonna start showing some screens and showing some tools and building and getting creative.
Excited to keep on building with you, Nadine. And again, Judy, thank you for the introduction. Shout out to Judy for making this happen and connecting the dots. So
Absolutely.
really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.